hosted by Jordan, Gabby, and Shayna, 3 friends who needed a creative outlet, wanted to get together and have a good time, and talk about the thrills, spills, and realness of motherhood.
Welcome to Mama Juice.
Hello. So this one we're going to talk about birth/postpartum, like fresh postpartum.
Pooping that baby out.
Pooping the baby out.
The first poop.
Yeah. Oh my god, so nervous. I'm like pounding.
Remember, we have no followers.
Yes.
So.
Negative.
1 million followers are looking at you right
20.
now.
So my experience is a little different. It's the only experience, so it's the only thing I know. But so my little fact was that one is pretty crazy. You looking for it?
Oh no, I'm gonna grab. Oh my, it's in my pocket. Take me.
Is 1 in 3 births are considered traumatic births.
Oh.
1 in 3.
Ooh, okay.
Isn't that nuts? That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's just like.
I bet that statistic is higher with first births.
You think so?
Well,
Yeah.
because like that's all you know.
Because
and
you
it's
don't
just-
know, and it's traumatic.
Always usually the worst.
It's kind of traumatic regardless, but it's like
and it's like a wide range, but like on anything that really just
for sure.
traumatic.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that.
Just being a woman and having that statistic is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that we just go through.
Yeah.
this
But I
crap.
think that's why we're different. Like,
Yeah.
I think moms want to hang out with other moms
Yeah.
because you're like,
It's
you're
trauma.
different.
Yes.
You're a different person
Mhm.
than.
Yeah.
But continue. Sorry.
You're different.
You're different.
You're weird.
So I was just gonna kind of talk about like my experience a little bit, just because it's. I mean, might as well just dig into it, and then we can kind of dip in. But I mean, I guess like just starting out, like I was in labor for like 27 hours ish, and
You weren't dilating, right?
no, I wasn't. Yeah, they gave me like miso to induce me, and like nothing was working, and they did the balloon, and then ended up popping my water, and it was like a whole thing.
Did you ever get the balloon?
I don't know. I actually was just about to ask. But I
So
didn't
it's
wanna
like
interrupt.
mechanical dilation, because I wasn't
Oh,
dilating.
okay.
I was contracting like every 3 minutes, but then
Oh.
I wasn't dilating. So and the drugs weren't working.
Mm.
So they just insert a balloon to like forcefully like pull your cervix
Yeah,
open.
I
Oh,
tried to.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, Jordan was there for that part.
Yeah.
She was
literally
there.
was like, okay, do you want, was it fentanyl?
Yeah.
Do you
Like,
want
she was
fentanyl? Because it hurts really bad. And
Oh,
we're like,
scared me to
"What?"
death. Yeah.
So I'm calling people like who I knew had it, and of course I called Shannon and Chris, and they're like, it was nothing. But then every person I've talked to since says it is like the worst pain ever.
Yeah.
Emily and Kent, like so many people are
Yeah.
like, it's so painful.
Yeah. So thank God though that didn't work
Yeah.
because she inserted it. Like that hurt though. That like what she was doing, like it hurt. But as she was trying to inflate the balloon, then all of a sudden like my water broke. And I remember just feeling this gush of just like warm fluid, and I was like, what's happening? She was just like, oh
Yeah, her eyes were like,
yeah, that was like, oh, something happened. But then my water broke, and then that's like when we tried to like walk around and stuff, and nothing worked. So that's when, so then we did the epidural and started pitocin and all that. But yeah, no, it was a lot. So my blood pressure just kept dropping, and my heart rate kept jumping up to the 170s. It was terrible. Yeah, POTS is a bitch. But fast forward. Then it was time to push, and Jameson came pretty fast. I only pushed for like 20 minutes.
that's awesome.
And yeah,
How long did you push?
With Phoebe?
Yeah.
For like about an hour.
that's
then-
nuts. I cannot imagine
Yeah.
pushing that long, because even
Yeah.
20 minutes, I was
I
like,
pushed for
or
40 and I thought I was dying.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was. I think
I
it was like
threw
50
up.
something minutes. Well, I blew all the blood
Yeah.
vessels
Yeah.
in my
I was
face.
like,
oh my
cannot do
god,
this
because you have
anymore.
to push hard.
Yes.
Yes, but
Like,
with Declan and
how did
Dawson, I
you
literally
think?
pushed 2 times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
seconds waited.
Like,
it's crazy.
Like literally pushed 2
Yeah.
times, and then I
You just-
delivered them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's so.
it's
crazy.
mind blown
Yeah.
after going from like almost an hour and then I think it was a couple and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Good job, body.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I guess he came a little too fast and aspirated on like the fluid and stuff. So they just had to put him on CPAP, but while they were assessing him, they noticed something was wrong. I just didn't want to go like too much in detail
Sure,
in
yeah.
that side, but noticed something was wrong. So they ended up having to do like an ultrasound on him, and then discovered that he had to be transferred to another hospital for emergency surgery. So that was fun.
So what were you feeling immediately when they said that they're gonna have to take him away?
It was just like, I mean, because I just birthed him, like literally just birthed
physically
him.
going through all of this, and then
And I'm just like trying to like keep it together while like I'm laying there. She's stitching me up, and I'm just like,
did
I
your
don't.
brain process it?
Not really. Like I felt like I was just like,
running out of
cause,
adrenaline.
cause he's just like over there in the corner of the room. There's a bunch of people in the room, and then they're bringing him to NICU, and he was gone, and it was just like quiet. It was just me like just like laying there, and like it was just I couldn't process anything.
Once he was out of the room, like what were your?
I felt like I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt like he was because he obviously wasn't inside me
Right.
anymore, and I felt like I was like there was a part of me like just like
robbed.
missing, and like
yeah.
it was just not. Yeah, it was not a
I
fun
can't imagine,
experience.
and you just have the fear of like,
Yeah.
my baby, okay,
What's
he's not
happening?
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they tell me that he has to go to an entire different
Right.
hospital, transferred emergently. So like, remember she had to cath me, because like she made me try and pee.
Oh yeah.
And the epidural didn't wear off all the way, and I couldn't pee to just like go say goodbye to him in the NICU. Like,
yes.
and so I had to
It was
like,
like a time crunch.
yeah,
Like,
and I'm like, just fucking cath me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go see my baby. And I saw him for like 5 minutes, and I literally held him for like 2 seconds. It was like 2 seconds, and he had like all these tubes and shit all over him, and like, and then they had to take him, and you know, like I'm a nurse, so like
yeah.
I know they were talking about ABGs and like, but newborn babies are like way different than adult people, and so I had no idea what they were even talking about. Like, it was just, I felt so out of control, and like, yeah. But then they took him away, and
And Brian had to go.
yeah.
So then you lost your.
So like yeah.
Husband.
Yes, then you're
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone I came back, and like everyone, like his whole family was in the room. I did not expect them to be in there, and like I was just bawling my eyes out, and like, and then it was just, I don't know, it was nuts. And then everyone was there, and then everyone was gone.
Yeah.
And then I'm like wheeled over to the women's unit, where I'm supposed to have Jameson with me, and then like my mom is the only one with me, and that's when like I called Jordan to
I was
come.
begging. I was like, I need.
like,
to,
I
need to
need-
go.
I needed Jordan to be there with me, because like I just felt so, I needed not only like I needed like my sister to be there, but like I needed like a nurse with me. I needed like someone that had like my back, and
Like an
someone that could
advocate.
speak for
Well,
me.
I was about to punch that nurse.
Yeah,
She was.
awful. Everyone else there was
Yes,
amazing.
yeah,
All the
yeah.
nurses were amazing. But that,
Just
for
the
some
last
reason,
one.
like, I mean, I ended up with the nurse from hell. Like, when I needed a really good nurse at the most vulnerable
Yeah, she
time.
was weird.
Absolutely terrible.
She just was like a know-it-all, and like
Yeah.
wouldn't even give her like what are the
Like, all, like, the stuff.
hair
Like,
stuff.
like, what is it, like, the spray.
Oh,
And
why?
she would give me anything. She's like, well, you don't need it. You didn't have a tear. I had an internal tear. Okay, so I was stitched up on
I mean,
the
it
inside.
literally gave her nothing to go. It was
But
like,
I also pushed a baby out my
Yeah.
body. Like,
Just
you're
give it to
all
her.
numb and raw. Like, you're like, you know,
Sure.
you're starting to feel things again.
Tops.
Epidural's
But I mean,
gone.
it's also like, why withhold it?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
it's not like.
She's like, you don't need it.
yeah, she's pretty much saying like, yeah. I was just like,
Yeah.
give it.
It's just like all this going on, and
Yeah.
then so like I'm trying to, because Jameson's not at this hospital anymore, and they didn't have a bed for me, so I couldn't be transferred over there. So they were gonna just discharge me, and I like in all the same time, like I'm learning a crash course on how to pump. I really wanted to
Oh,
breastfeed.
yeah.
That was like my biggest thing. I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted skin to skin. I wanted alone time.
Yeah.
With
You
just
had a
our
specific
family.
birth plan, and I was like,
Everything was thrown out the
Ugh.
window. But so I had a crash course on pumping while I'm on the phone with Brian, FaceTiming with the anesthesiologist and the surgeon, explaining everything. So trying to process all these things, and like, and I can't even physically be there with Jameson. Like,
helpless.
it was just absolutely insane. And then so I finally discharged. It was like 6 hours after like giving birth. It would have been sooner, but the freaking nurse though, so terrible. But so then went straight to that hospital. He already had the surgery.
Well, let me just say, when they wheeled you out, you just seemed so, and we left the hospital like just detached, just like you were just not there. And I just wanted to like, I'm like, are you like, I don't know. It was just so sad to
Yeah.
see her. You were just, you could tell you were running on adrenaline. You were just in shock. and it was just.
Yeah.
Well, because you're just like doing the next.
It was
Yes,
just
and you're
like-
okay, now I have to get in
Yeah.
the car to then go do this, and it's just like, oh.
It was
God.
just because it was nonstop. For the
So
second
sad.
he like entered this world, exited my body, entered this world, it was like the best day ever turned into the worst day ever.
Yeah.
So it was just like I couldn't even process the emotions, and like it was just like, oh my gosh, like, and my newborn baby is not even like within not only just arm's reach, like literally like on the other side of the town in another fucking hospital, like far away. And then I discharged, and then we went straight to NICU, and it was just like, I don't know, it was just like I felt, it was just like this big, it was just crazy. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And he was there for 3 days, but
Were you a patient? You weren't a patient
no,
there.
I was myself.
So did you have to leave and
I-
then come back?
No, I
Oh.
discharged.
No, I
like,
know,
to-
like at
to
the
see him?
hospital. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to stay there. That was I'm like, I am staying here. But I went from discharging straight to that hospital. So I had no medications. Like, they don't give you pain meds or anything. Take Tylenol. You know, I was in so much pain. I discharged, like, I wasn't supposed to discharge.
Yeah.
You know, like, I literally left, like, 6 hours after I gave birth to a human child. And I was in so much pain. There was no beds for you in the NICU. Like, you have a recliner. I couldn't even sit. Like, it was just so uncomfortable. So, you know, I just went through 27 hours of labor. I was wide awake the whole time. So, like, I really needed sleep, too. And I felt so guilty. Like, I knew, though, like, I needed to go home to actually get, like, rest to
Yeah.
process everything and to actually, like, come back and be, like, A-game, like, there for Jameson and, you know, and all that. So, like,
Yeah.
we decided, like, I needed to just go. Like, I didn't even have, like, Tylenol with me. I had nothing. So I was, like, gonna raw dog it all
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
recliner.
God,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Mm-mm.
So, and the alarms in NICU is just like, it's insane. Like,
Yeah.
his alarm, they kept going off and off.
And
And
you
so, of
wouldn't
course,
have
I'm like
slept because you would have been terrified
freaking
and
out.
staring
Yeah.
in the
Because
window.
he was still, they couldn't wean him off oxygen for a while. Like, his sats kept dropping because he ended up with aspiration pneumonia. And, like, I mean, that's why he was there for 3 days. He would have discharged, like, a lot sooner, but it was a whole thing.
Mm.
It was crazy.
It is so crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, afterwards, do you think that like you had any postpartum depression or anything because of like all of this, or like were you? I mean, I honestly don't remember you like
She
saying
held it
anything. or,
together
like, yeah.
so good, and I kept putting it on watch. Like, she's gonna break
Yeah.
one day. I feel like you didn't ever just like break and cry. Like, you just were trucking
Yeah.
along. But did you ever have that moment where you're like, it all came together?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially when I would go home to, like, sleep and he was still in NICU, I'd just be bawling my eyes
Yeah.
out. And then
Yeah.
I would wake up in the middle of the night, like, well, I'd make up, like, multiple times I would wake up. But I would call the nurse, and she'd be like, can you sleep? Can you stop calling? So I would keep calling and make sure everything's okay. And she's like, I will call if anything goes wrong or something happens. And, like, I know, because I'm a
Yeah.
nurse. Like, I know, like, they got it, they're fine, like, they're good. But that, it was hard. But, like,
But what
I don't know,
about
like,
your home?
after, like, I don't know, like, I didn't really, I felt like I was still, because even as, like, a normal, you know, like, postpartum woman with a newborn, like, you're just going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I felt like there
You
was
have
no
no
time for me
time.
to, like, to actually process anything. I didn't process. I think still to this day it bugs me. And I went to the hospital for a scan, totally unrelated, and all the emotions flooded back, and I had the biggest panic attack. Like, I couldn't. It was so hard to, like, even walk in there, and I even told the tech, I was like, this is just really hard for me right now. Like, it's just, like, crazy being there. But so, like, I feel like that I just haven't really even to this
Yeah.
day processed, like, everything.
I mean, it's like, how do you process that,
Yeah.
right? It's like, I mean, probably how it's gonna process is when you have another baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Going
scared
through
of.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it'll be a different situation. It
Right,
could be
yeah,
totally
and I
fine.
totally
it could be
understand.
the
I
thing
totally
that
know
you
that.
like get the things that you were hoping for, and
Yeah.
like maybe that is how it like processes out, right? Like
Yeah.
it shakes it out because there's like all this what if and unresolved stuff, and then
Mhm.
it just like split to chaos, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you didn't get your
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but
But I mean, like, there's so many, like, 1 in 3
Yeah.
births are traumatic. So, like, there's
And you have a beautiful, healthy boy.
Right,
now, so
exactly.
it's crazy to go from something so crazy
yeah,
to
and
like.
he is completely healthy. Like,
Yeah.
he's such a spunky bug. Like, he's just, it's insane to, like, and then just think about, those people that go through even worse of an experience and like they don't have a child with them, or they don't,
lifelong
issues, and like so then it makes me feel like, okay, well, like this is fine,
that's
it's
part of
okay.
mom guilt. It's just like,
could have been worse. So
yeah, like my
I
trauma
shouldn't feel
isn't bad
sad.
because,
Yes, but it's
Yeah.
like still chaotic. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
thought. I mean, especially like your baby being taken away.
yeah.
That's
Like,
like I think
that's-
was the hardest
yeah.
thing, because I'm obviously like he's healthy now, like that's I feel like that might be why like it's easier for me to just kind of suppress it and stuff, but like it definitely is like deep in there for sure. So many things were taken from me, so many firsts and so many like just experiences. And
So what are you going to try to do when you are pregnant again to try not to hyper focus on like the what ifs and the
I really have no
throughout the whole
idea.
thing?
Hopefully Jameson will keep me occupied.
that's
Yeah.
to where I won't.
Distraction.
Yeah.
And that it's different every time, and
Yeah,
you know,
and I
it's
know
like-
that, and I
and that overall the whole
understand
medical
right now.
system really did work,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
like you know that they
Yeah.
did what
I
they
just
did.
job.
never giving birth in that hospital again. No, you can never catch me back in there. So I might have to change OBs, sadly,
They only go
because
there.
it was only there. It was only there because they don't go to but they don't go to Oviedo anymore. Remember the whole
mine
contract
stopped,
something.
Maybe it'll change. It's all about money.
If they do,
I love Oviedo.
I think my
Downtown
favorite
where
experience
we're
was I went to a
downtown.
group of midwives
Yeah.
that was like and they delivered in the Advent Health that's in Altamont. Like the whole group of midwives was just it was
Well,
the
midwives
best.
I did love my Orlando.
yeah. Well, that's what I mean, I love my doctor and everything, but like it's just the resources that he needed weren't there.
You
So
were
you
at
want to go
Winter
to a
Park.
bigger
I was at
hospital.
Winter Park,
Yeah.
so like
Maybe go to
I
Orlando.
never, you don't ever expect anything crazy to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I
because they
mean,
have
That's what they always
great
said about
NICU.
Oviedo. They're like, well, if you have to get, transferred, then you have to go to
Yeah.
Nemours. So
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, nah.
Yeah,
But,
and Winter Park they have
Yeah.
a NICU.
Yeah.
They have like the means, but it's the fact that
The
he needed
surgery.
like surgery. That is like, whoa, like what are the odds of that? Like
Right.
fresh out the womb, boom, an hour later he's having surgery. Like, is that nuts?
Isn't it crazy to think that there's surgeons like operating on like a little tiny baby?
Yeah, and even
Like,
like
the
in
stress
Yeah,
of what
NICU,
they-
girl's nuts.
that's insane.
The stress that they probably feel of like working
Yeah.
on a baby.
Yeah,
That's gotta be
The
so
pressure.
a teeny tiny
How do they
baby.
not have like,
Yeah.
How do they know what?
like have that pressure not get to them? How can they just be like, oh, it's fine,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Thank
They're
God. And I
always
had
calm.
the
Well,
big
because
guy.
they know
Yeah.
that they're
I
like
had the
saving babies, right?
But
It's
the
like
pressure
Yeah.
of not. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just, ugh.
well, I'm
that-
sure that they don't save babies, right? So there's times that
Oh,
they don't
yeah.
save them, and so
Yeah.
it's like
And then you got to do another surgery right after that, and you're
Yeah.
like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. They're special brains.
maybe that
Yeah.
particular surgery is a pretty straightforward surgery, but it'd be like heart surgery, like they do all these crazy things on like little babies.
Tiny little benches.
Yeah.
Oh, and like a little tiny baby laying there.
Mm-mm.
So crazy.
Yeah, no.
Because they'd have to be put under, right? For them to
Yeah.
lay
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So what are some exciting and most like memorable happy moments that you guys have?
Of birth?
Yeah,
Well, even, just fresh, like, just
I honestly I
fresh
don't-
out the womb. Postpartum.
right out the womb, like I honestly really didn't have even pushing and everything. I feel like birth was crazy, and then like post, I didn't have other than Declan having to have we had to stay later because he had jaundice, and like I was technically not a patient, but I was still because there's nobody at Oviedo. I still stayed in my same room, but he was the
That's
only
nice. And that's
patient.
a big room, and that's
Yeah,
really
and I mean,
good.
But it was like I then had 2 kids, so I was actually alone because Elliot left and he had to be with our other kids, and so I was
Yeah.
just kind of alone. And I remember being like really freaking out that I
Yeah.
was like alone, especially at night. That it was
Making
just like,
decisions and,
and that like I'm taking care of him, but then I don't know if he's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still had him, right? So it was like if he was not with me, that would be even crazier. If I was like all the scary thoughts happen when it's dark.
Mhm.
It's like all
Yeah.
the worst thoughts creep in at that time, and it's like, but I just remember like trying to watch TV, and it was like this blue light like shining in
Yeah.
this sad like big room, and then it was like all I was doing was like just staring at
Yeah.
him because I didn't know if he was doing
Did
okay.
the
And he
nurses
wasn't
do
eating.
a lot, like, for him?
I mean, it was just that he wasn't eating, and he was
Yeah.
very lethargic, and so he wasn't eating. So I was like feeding him with a syringe,
Yeah.
and I remember the syringe feeding was like what freaked me out more because it felt like I was like feeding like a dog that was dying or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
right? I was like convinced that this was just not,
Yeah.
and he was so
Oh,
like he just was nothing. Like he wasn't moving, he wasn't tight, he
that was
wasn't
just
like
from the jaundice?
yeah. Well, because he wasn't eating. So it was like he was so jaundiced and he was
But why wasn't he eating?
he was just like
Just tired from
he
that,
was just
coming out of
like
that room?
lethargic, and then it was like because he was so lethargic he wasn't eating, so then his
Yeah.
bilirubin levels weren't getting, and it was just like this
So what did
This cycle.
they just tell you to do the syringe
the
feeding?
syringe, yeah, and then I was
Get
trying
it
to
in
pump,
somehow or
and
some way?
then I
Yeah.
was, I mean, they yeah, I gave him formula because I needed to give him more calories
Yeah.
than what I was producing at that time.
Oh,
And I
that's
mean,
so sad.
I mean, it helped. He didn't have to go on a light.
Yeah.
That was going to be the next phase. But I mean, they pricked his little foot like
Yes.
I don't even
oh
know
my
how
God,
many
I hate
times.
that, dude.
they pricked his foot so many
Yeah.
times, and then I was like, it was not getting better. And then it was like the next day, it started to get better.
Okay.
But it was like just the first day really was the.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I got the what you were hoping for. Like
But
I
you
got
had
the
a
skin to skin.
traumatic, sew up.
Oh well, I was not numb anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
You scarred me
Yeah.
from.
I think
Scared
I was
crap.
like so disassociated that I remember like feeling it, but then it was like I just remember it being like chaotic. Not like that I literally could feel
You said
every
you were screaming.
Yeah. I mean, I think I just like forget now, I
I think you
guess.
blocked it out,
Yeah.
but your
The
story
trauma is
made me
suppressed.
so scared
Yeah.
to have a child.
I remember like feeling them literally. I mean, it would be like somebody stitching you, but in like you just
Yeah.
got like a wound, and then you could feel it.
Yeah.
But it was it all wore off, and they can't give you more at that point, right? So it was just like I could feel it all. But then with Dawson and Declan, I had the mirror, and
Yeah,
I saw it.
I did that. That was
Yeah.
cool.
It
I
was
love the
crazy.
mirror.
Yeah. That was
I
really
wish I had
cool.
done it with Phoebe. I was so just like freaked out by everything that I didn't.
Mhm.
But that was
It's
it
the
was just
coolest thing
crazy.
ever.
Yeah.
They
it's
Put
asked
it
like-
on the full wall.
Yeah,
just
no,
like,
when they asked, like, do you want a mirror? I literally pictured, like, a little mirror. Like,
Oh no, they roll
gonna
my
hold-
stuff.
Yeah.
they're
Oh
gonna-
no, it's a big
it
mirror.
was a huge mirror.
But I mean,
they
it
rolled
needs to
in.
be big for them to be back
Yeah.
there for you to see everything, right?
But that's, I did
like a
not
review
know
mirror
that.
of,
I
like, a
was like,
semi-truck.
whoa.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, my hoo-ha is
Yeah.
just
Yes.
shining
Big
bright.
giant mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is cool though.
yeah.
It's
No,
a
it was
wild-
really cool.
I
It
mean,
makes
it's like
you
you
feel
did it-
like a in the wilderness. I don't
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
you're like doing it in
Yeah.
the woods.
And I
you're
feel like
just
that's
I see
why
it.
I was able to push so good. Because
Yeah.
you can actually see what you're doing. You're
Oh,
not
yeah.
just like,
I don't
am
know
I
how
pushing?
people don't have
Like,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if they keep telling you, oh, do another one, you're like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it anymore. But if you see, I remember
How
seeing your hair,
close.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
How
okay,
close
I
you
can do
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
They're like, just one more. You
Yeah.
got it. And then
That's
then it's like,
why
okay,
it's
no, not one
Yeah, I
more.
know,
I'm
it's
like,
all
oh my
lies.
God, is it one more or not?
Ten more.
Ellie was just like, oh, it's crazy! Oh my god!
I can picture that.
He
too.
was just like so
Where's the
stoked.
tape measure?
How long?
Did you know where my wallet is? Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he was just like so stoked. He's like, I can't believe it's changed. It's crazy. It's so crazy. Like this whole time I was like, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I got the skin to skin, baby on me. Like with Phoebe, I didn't do anything different or special. With both Declan and Dawson, I did this like om noise, like this. It's like om
Mhm.
like this, but it's like it made them stop crying,
Ooh.
and they just like
Try that,
laid on
Gabby.
me. Yeah, it's called the primordial om.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
But it's like the vibration
Yeah.
of it, like they're on me. It made them start crying, and I sang them happy birthday.
Oh my
Aw.
God. You stop it.
Yes.
All of them? Or no, you said Declan.
Not with Phoebe. Yeah, I just didn't even like think about it, and then I sang both.
You're going to make me
Phoebe-
cry. I want to do that.
I sang
That
happy
is
birthday. Yeah,
awesome.
like no, it was awesome. I remember thinking it was awesome. Like, at the
Oh
time.
my
And I remember my
God.
nurses thinking that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. But I did that om, and I swear to God, they just like they stopped crying. They're like silent on you.
How long did it last? Like, can you keep doing it? And they've
Yeah, I mean, I just did a while, and then I sang them happy birthday, and then
Yeah.
we just kind of like all were. It was just this very like happy, joyous, calm time. Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Everybody was just like everything was just
Yeah.
calm.
That's a blessing.
I will say though, at that Advent one with the midwives, it was like 30 people came in that room when I was giving birth. Like, it's a teaching hospital, same with at
Oh.
Winnie,
Yeah.
but I don't remember nearly as many people at Winnie. But it was like, maybe they just had a lot going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
like, I
Everybody's
swear,
coming here.
it was so many people.
Yeah.
And they were just hanging out. But I was like in a great mood. I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Get in
Yeah.
there.
Sing did everyone sing happy birthday with you?
No, I just sang happy birthday.
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that.
It was cute. It was like, it's definitely a thing that like, I'm glad I did it and I
Yeah.
remember it.
I'm
and, like,
1,000% gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
gonna do
sing
that. That is
happy birthday
amazing.
to you.
This
Yeah.
tiny little.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh
And I
my
don't know.
God,
I don't
love that.
remember thinking about doing that with Dawson, but I've done it with meditation, and I
Mhm.
know that it makes you just feel calm.
Yeah.
And I just started doing it with Dawson, and then
Yeah.
I consciously did it with Declan, and then I
You're
consciously
like, oh, this works.
saying happy birthday to Declan because I had done it with Dawson, and it was like, I don't know, I
Yeah.
just thought it was cool. But I mean, with Dawson especially, I mean, it was like I said, I checked myself in the hospital. Everything was super calm. I was in a great mood. My water had already broken. I pushed him out in like 2 pushes. I had an entire audience of people. Sang happy birthday, and it was like he nursed no problem. I mean, is he the favorite? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was
Even
up-
after not sleeping for 2 years. That's amazing.
Well, no, Dawson.
Oh, Dawson.
Yeah,
I
no,
think I
Dawson
meant
came home. He
Oh.
slept. He ate. He's the best eater, like
It's
most
on film.
adventurous eater
Dawson's
of
the
all of them.
favorite.
Yeah. I mean, Declan will definitely try different kinds of foods and everything. But yeah, I mean, everything with Dawson has
That's
literally
what you
been
trained
like,
for.
if you were to write a book, this was how it was all supposed to go. Everything
Yeah.
seems fine. Pregnancy was great. Obviously, Declan,
So you
I had
thought, I'm going to do this again. This is easy.
I would.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It's not- and then yeah, everything was obviously different, a little different with Declan. But I
Yeah.
mean, I still had him. He was still on me. He would just felt small and like fragile even right away. But I was also induced, and so then I had all this guilt that it was like because I got induced, that was why he had like his liver wasn't processing.
I
his
felt that
stuff
way too
and-
because I was induced.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, inducing does cause a higher chance of complications, especially with your first one. But it, it was like I begged for it. I
Yeah.
literally wanted it so bad. I was 39 weeks, but I had thrown up so much. I was just so miserable. I was crying every day, and I was just like, I have
They
to
told
do
me I was
it.
gonna have a 9-pound baby at that point.
Yeah, they
So
said
that's
that
why
was
they're like,
gonna
yep,
be
we
way.
can do it.
They said he was going to be way bigger too, but they're literally just measuring their femur and
Yeah, I
they're
didn't know
guessing.
that.
They don't.
Yeah.
They actually
They
can't
somehow,
tell their weight.
knew exactly the weight.
No, they're like looking at their bone structure. They literally
Yeah.
can't really.
Even with those
actually
3D ones?
know. I don't know, but I don't know. If
I
you
just
can
always
really
remember
measure
his
fat
abdomen
density.
was always like 99%.
Yeah, we
Like,
thought you were going to have
huge.
that 16er or something.
Yeah,
like.
it's ginormous.
Yeah,
Like
So overall,
cool.
good experience for you.
good experience with birth. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But then I had horrible postpartum depression with Phoebe, and then probably way worse with Declan because I had 2 other kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would say postpartum depression. Oh, I looked up this statistic about postpartum
Whip
depression.
it out.
How many people get it? I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Well, so since 2010, postpartum depression has gone up 60 to 70%.
Holy.
Yeah.
I guess people didn't even know they had
Wow.
it back then, too, probably.
Yeah.
Probably lower diagnoses
Low.
for sure.
Stress,
But I
extra
mean,
stress.
it's like cuz it can manifest in all kinds of crazy ways. Like
Yeah.
obviously you can feel sad, but then there's also the women that start a new business and then like disassociate from their kids.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
just like
Distance.
they just don't do anything with their kids because they're hyper focused on this new thing, and that's postpartum depression too. Or they start using heavy drugs.
Yeah.
They become heavy
Wow.
drinkers. Maybe they're not sad in the typical sadness,
Yeah.
but they like it's shifting in some kind of screwed up way. I mean, we have a friend that they had a baby. She had this very successful dance studio, and she started using severely heavy drugs like right away. And it's like before I had kids, and it's like reflecting now. She 100% had postpartum depression, and nobody noticed.
And it
nobody
happened.
paid
She
attention
started
to
doing
her.
that right after she had her
Lost her dance studio. She was a magic dancer. She had and she had a dance studio teaching kids all this. Now she has multiple charges of stealing. I mean, her life has literally gone down like that. She ended up doing meth. I mean, it was like she spiraled. I mean, obviously, at some point, postpartum wanes because of like your hormones balance out. So there was, she had gone deep, but this is like first year out, and so dad took care of baby. So there was all kinds of chaos with that. They separated, blah blah blah, and but it's like I think it manifests in so many ways, or people become like, or they get divorces. I mean, it's like the rate of divorce is super high with postpartum depression within like the first year to 2 years of birth. Because I mean, I'd be like the biggest piece of advice would be like anybody that feels like they're going through that is to just straight up not make life-changing decisions until they're at least two. I mean, unless you're being physically abused or like somebody's like your life is really like bad, like make the move. But it's like if you just think your husband that has been your best friend is the worst human ever, like all of a sudden after you had the baby, like even because they're not doing the things they're not doing, if they're just the worst, like you have to get away from this person. It's like very high.
But I feel like that's even like just not like despite like postpartum depression. That's just like a normal
the stress
thing.
of that. But then like to shift a major life to buy a house, to do something like major life decision in that time, it just creates more chaos, and you feel like it's like your ego is convincing you if you do this thing, it's gonna fix this problem. But it's like honestly, a lot of the problem is just that you're really freaking tired. You're not the center of attention anymore. You're not the center of your focus, and your hormones are crazy. And so it's like
internal.
And I mean, I took medicine with Phoebe. I don't think that it helped, in my opinion. I think it made me feel very numb, and I don't think it like helped me get better because straight up just like I was still tired and my hormones were whack. So I think it was like making me calmer, but I don't think that like that was actually the problem. I think I just needed a full year of like not sleeping and not taking care of myself and like not working out like well, right? Because it would be like working out was stressful. It was a thing that I felt like I had to do, not like that I was enjoying or it was good for my body. And so then I was like angry at working out. And like that's like if you're angry at it, then it's not even like maybe you're working your muscles, but it's like if it's causing you way more stress, that's probably probably doing it like a negative effect. But I mean, I became an awful person to like Jordan, to all my friends. I was so negative, and like I felt like I was like
you were not
I
yourself.
could feel myself being around people and literally being like kind of a shell of myself, but also negative about everything. Like I could feel, and I'm like super positive, almost like annoyingly positive with things. Yes, and then I'm like. Everything was like anybody would say something and I'd be like, well, this is probably not gonna work. This is probably shitty. And it was like and I could feel it, and I literally felt like I was like watching myself be a shitty person, and then it was just like happening, but it was like I'm here and then I'm also here, and I'm like watching myself like collide and like make and then I was awful to Elliot. I was like so distant and like weird to my kids, and like I wasn't obviously distant to Declan. I was like obsessed with Declan, like hyper obsessed with him, and then but I was also hyper obsessed that he wasn't sleeping. I was hyper obsessed about him feeding and like nursing, and I was like, and like honestly probably the only time I felt like peace and calm was when he was nursing, because it would give me like a dopamine and serotonin hit, and he's quiet, and it was like, I mean, I think I would just shove him on my boob like 24 hours a day, because I was just like, I need
That's
to
your
just.
piece.
But then my kids would be fighting,
Yeah.
or I'd be trying to put him down for a nap, and then they would come in the room, and I would turn into like a fucking monster. Like I would be so angry that they were about to wake him up because he doesn't sleep well, that I would like rage on them. And then it was like, and then I mean, it was awful. I literally was just like, and then even my Silver was like telling me she was thinking about having a baby. I was like, you can't do this. I was like, it's so hard. You don't have any friends up there that have babies. You don't have any family. You can't. I was like, so fucking awful. And I remember telling her, like, shortly after, like, look, I literally am like in the worst part of my life. Like,
Don't listen
to me. I consciously know, like, if you want to experience this, I want you to experience this. Like, but you're just telling somebody that's in the worst part. Like, I
Trenches,
currently
in the
cannot
trenches.
give you
Yeah.
any positive advice. Like, but at least with her, I was like conscious about like, I just can't be there for you right this moment. But like, I get if you want to experience this. Like, of course you want to. Do it. Of course, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, my immediate reaction was like, you can't do this. Like, how are you gonna do this? Because I was thinking like, I'm struggling so hard and I have every fucking resource, and I'm like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And it was like, was this a fucking horrible thing to like say to somebody?
Yeah.
So
right?
what
But
brought you out of it?
I think I just started fucking sleeping and like everything
So
mellowed out.
When did you think you noticed feeling better?
I think like it was probably like a year and a half.
Yeah.
After
That's
Declan
a
was
long
born.
time. And
Yeah,
you
it
had
was a long time.
9 months of being miserable pregnant.
Yeah.
That's a
Well, so
long
like, so
time.
statistically, it said that you're more likely. Okay, so the actual definition of postpartum depression is, it's characterized by persistent feelings of sadness, anxiety, loss of interest, which is always another thing. I would like sit, and I remember just being like this, like completely zoned out. Like I had no interest in hanging out with people.
Yeah.
I remember being like, I should go and see my friends, and I was like, I literally like don't
No
even care.
interest.
I don't even care. Like I have zero interest to talk to people. I have zero. Like Elliot would try to talk to me and be like, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I'd be like, whatever. It was just so, I was so zoned out of it. Loss of interest or pleasure in activities, and maternal outcomes can include increased maternal morbidity, and lower rates of breastfeeding, impaired maternal and infant bonding, and children face higher rates of developmental delays, because it's like because you're if you're not connected,
engaging with them.
yeah, especially the ones that like their coping is to go off, right? Another thing, it was like I would like to drink, but I would want to go and be like straight up alone. Like I went to a bar by myself, which I've never done. Like I went to a bar by myself,
Is that
and I
when
just
with
talked to
Dominicans?
and I just talked to random people, and
Oh
it
my
was
God.
like, it's a thing that like later is really like bothered and haunted me, because I feel like so many weird things could have happened,
Yeah.
but like my brain literally was like, you should go
Yeah.
and do that, right? Like, but I
Don't
don't know
go
why.
home to that life.
Yeah, don't go
Yeah.
home. Like you should go out, and you should
That was after
go.
Bunko, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was all. It's just like,
I think I was pregnant.
oh,
Yeah.
it's like I feel like embarrassed, but it's also like, you know, but it said that it's much higher in women that have gained like a lot of weight during their pregnancy, and so I gained the most weight with Declan, even though I throw up
Doesn't make
every
any
day.
sense.
Yeah, I gained 70 pounds.
Wow.
But
My
then you
highest
mentioned-
weight, I was at 210.
How
So
much
crazy.
did Declan weigh?
Like 6 pounds, 6
That's
something.
nuts.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
fit
gained
him.
I
It's
gained
crazy.
70 pounds.
My body's
So crazy. 210. I'm at 150 right now. So I mean I've lost 60 pounds.
Yeah.
But I was at 150 before I had him, and I had hired a trainer because I felt like I was big and I wanted to like lose weight. And then literally I think like 4 weeks later I got pregnant. So and then gained 70 pounds.
Nuts.
Yeah.
It's all placenta.
But it's
Yeah.
so yeah, it's just my giant placenta, yes. So going into looking at these statistics, I was guessing that different cultures would have different rates of postpartum depression. And I guess that like Asian cultures would have had lower
Yeah.
rates of it because they have so much family unit. Same with Hispanic cultures. And it said that the Asian and what was it? Was the Islander? Oh, I wrote it on here. Now I can't.
Polynesian.
Yeah, like Polynesian. They called it something Islander. They actually have since 2010. That's when they started documenting this.
Mhm.
Was they have the highest rates of it, and I know, and I'm like, why? I wonder why.
Probably because of
that
all the
is.
pressure. They have a lot of like type A people and a lot of.
Maybe I don't know.
That's
I
something
didn't.
think
I didn't
of.
read any. I didn't
'Cause I
see
would
like
never
why.
advise that ever.
Yeah.
Sweden has the lowest rate
Sweden is good at
in the
everything.
whole world. Yes.
They got good
And
drugs, right?
Taiwan has the highest rate in the entire world, which is 73% of all
Wow.
women suffer from postpartum depression. In the U.S., it's from like 29% to 37%. But then it was like broken down between races, and Hispanic culture was the least, and then white
America.
culture was in the middle, and then black culture was the highest. But it was like black and white was pretty much right around the same. But they were all between like 19 and 25% of women, which I
Wow.
mean that's like a
I feel like
Yeah.
that's
high
why
amount.
Hispanic. I mean, it's probably like they have a village and they
Yeah.
have their people.
Yeah,
and
the
they-
village
yeah.
is
I mean that's what I was thinking about
the
Asian
biggest
culture. I feel like
thing.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of like about, but you know what? Maybe that's not.
But do they help or are they?
It's
expect
yeah,
them to
exactly.
do it on
I'm
their
like
own and
maybe
figure it
maybe
out?
we think it's a village, but it's like more about baby and less about mom, and then
Yeah.
mom
Mhm.
just gets like
And you have to
shifted
do your
out.
job and you
Yeah.
do this rather than it's like.
But then it's like in our culture, no matter what race you are, just American culture, I feel like there's less of a village, and then there's, I mean, and thank goodness we have friends, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and stuff. And I mean, we have family, you have family, but it's like, I mean, if I didn't have friends, I mean, it would be
Yeah.
like I would feel super alone.
Yes.
Like, and I don't do well with being alone. So then when I make myself alone, is like it's so bad. Like it
Yeah.
was like I was making
Yeah.
myself
Oh,
be
yeah.
more alone. And it's like, I mean, even on holidays and stuff, like these past couple weeks, it's like everybody's busy with their families and stuff. I don't have family that hangs.
Yeah.
And then it's like Elliot works. He literally took off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Okay. So then I was just like alone. Everybody's busy. Everybody's doing stuff. Can't go anywhere. It's
Yeah.
chaotic and everything. And it was like, so I was just kind of like alone.
Mhm.
And it like gets to me. I'm like, I feel depressed when I'm like just alone. I can't hang, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's with Phoebe when I had postpartum depression, I wanted to like be away from her, which is awful. With Declan, I was like obsessed with him, and I
You
became like
hyper-focus on-
hyper
Yeah.
obsessed with him. Like I would still go and try to be alone, but it
And
was
just
like
connect
Yeah.
yourself from the other two.
yeah. And I remember multiple times like cooking dinner, sitting down at dinner, and we're all sitting there, and I would just not talk, and I would be completely zoned out, and then I would start to just fall asleep, like literally at the table. I remember just being like falling, like I would just like fall asleep, and Ellie's like, you have to go to sleep, and I'm like, but then it's like I go and lay down, and I'm like buzzy,
Yeah.
and then I can't lay down, and then I'm like all anxious and like
Mhm.
crazy, and then I'm like, and then I'd be like, I can't just relax like you can relax, you know,
Yeah.
like a crazy person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was like, you know, I thought he was the worst person. I was like,
Well,
you're the
yeah,
problem.
You need a
Yeah.
scapegoat. You need some.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the
someone to
problem.
blame.
Yeah, thank goodness he's a good like, just rubber.
Yeah.
Like he just
to let
like
you
yeah.
yeah.
Because he was just like, what is that? Like, because there's plenty of times it got so bad that he would be like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
and he'd be like, he wanted me to get on medication. I was so freaked out by medication because before, when I had taken it with Phoebe, it didn't help the situation.
What were you on?
I can't remember.
Like an antidepressant?
Yeah, not antidepressant. But it didn't help. It just made me feel less bothered, but it didn't
Yeah.
actually help me sleep. It didn't help
Yeah.
my baby
The
sleep.
core
It didn't
issue.
help any of the things. So I
Right.
had all of these things, but then I remember just kind of being like zoned out. And then I was like, I don't feel like this is better. I feel like I need the anxiety to like fix the things instead of like, but after, at least with Phoebe, I knew with Declan, I had a feeling, even though it was probably the worst pit, just because I was tired being a mom of 2 other kids.
Yeah.
But I knew that it was going to go away.
Yeah.
Like with Phoebe, I didn't
There's a light at
know
the
if
end
it
of
was
the
going to go
tunnel.
away.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just like a bitch now, I guess. I don't know. I'm just the worst person.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling it was going to go away.
Just to know when.
I didn't know when.
Yeah.
But Phoebe at least started sleeping. She was a decent sleeper. It was like Declan not sleeping.
Yeah,
I
the
was
sleep
like,
is a big thing.
I am legitimate, like, a crazy person.
I
Like,
don't know
felt
how
like a
you
crazy
did it
person.
for that long, because it was like just 4 months of purely awake. I was like,
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, I would let him scream. I mean,
Yeah.
there was
Yeah.
hours that he would scream. He would scream. He would just
Yeah.
straight up scream for hours. And then I would just lay there. And I would put earplugs in. I remember, like, feeling like somebody was, like, doing this to me. And so I'm just laying there, and I'm like, I'm not even sleeping. So, like, I might as well just go pick him up.
Yeah.
Because then he won't scream. I'm not asleep.
And because you know that's not working.
Yeah.
He's
So
just
then
gonna
I'm
keep
like, he's
screaming.
just screaming. He would scream
Yeah.
for hours. I think we like listened one time, and then it was like, I think he screamed for 4 hours. But I was so tired that I was just like, I physically just
cannot do
laid
it.
there, and I
Yeah.
was just like,
It's crazy that
it was
some of
like
them can do that.
I feel like we had looked at the clock and it was 4 hours, but I felt like I laid there and zoned out, and it was like almost maybe I was resting because it went fast, but it was like, it felt like, I can't believe he just screamed. And I don't even think he stopped screaming. I think I eventually went in there and just like picked him up. And then it was like, I mean, I supplemented with formula. I thought that would help.
Yeah.
And it was just like, he just didn't want to sleep.
It's nuts. But he would.
Wow.
Was he just nocturnal?
He wouldn't even really nap. But then it was like, I had 2 other kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially the first 2 months, I had them during the summer. All my kids were at home.
Oh my god.
Oh.
And it was like, I think that was probably a big recipe too. Because I tried to do stuff, but I couldn't really, like, I shouldn't have been doing stuff. Probably should have been resting. I remember being a
It's
double down,
impossible.
and he was like 7 days old. And I was like holding him, and they're like, how old is he? I'm like, he's like 6 days. And they're like, how are you here? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, they need to run around.
Yeah. I need to get
Yeah.
out of my house.
But, yeah. But then I didn't have it at all with Dawson. I mean, I felt like I was like, I remember taking care of another friend of mine's kid when Dawson was like an infant, and she was going through stuff. And I was
Did it
like,
freak you out, like feeling the same ways again? You're like, oh no, like.
yeah. Well, I felt like it was going to happen because of how I felt during my pregnancy.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, if I just snap out of this would be like probably crazier. Like, I think I had more anxiety knowing that I was like going to feel that way.
Yeah.
And then it just like spiraled into worse and worse. But especially because I had 2 other kids.
Yeah.
So then I was
You
like,
can't concentrate all on yourself. You have to keep going and
Yeah.
going and going.
but they sort of don't remember any of that.
That's what
So
I
I
keep
was
telling
like-
Gabby. I'm like, they don't. I was terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I remember once I was out of it telling you, I'm like, dude, Evan's not going to remember.
Yeah.
Like, you being mean
I
to
felt
her, being
so
mad at
guilty.
her, all of that. I'm like,
Yeah. She does.
literally, she won't remember. Like, it's
doesn't even
amazing that they
remember-
don't remember. They remember the fun stuff.
Yeah.
They really do. They don't even remember that you yelled at them. I mean, I would rage at my
Yes.
kids when they would come in and, like, wake him up or, like, mess with me while I was trying to get him to go to sleep because I was just like, I need him to fucking sleep. Like, you can't
Yeah.
fuck this up.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I would rage out. And then, I mean, if you ask them right now, I swear to God, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think either one of them, and Phoebe was even older than that.
Yeah.
Neither one of them would be like,
Eva would
oh,
say
yeah.
horrible things to Eric about like, why does mommy say this or why?
Yeah.
Why
'Cause
does
it's
mommy not love
immediate-
me? And I was
immediate
like,
afterwards.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't remember it.
She doesn't remember anything. I know, it's amazing.
Well,
Oh,
um, my birth.
we're at 40.
Yeah, Shane is
Oh!
fucking
Sorry, guys.
All right, go, Dory, go. Go
I'll
on.
try to go
It'll be a
quick.
long one.
Yeah, well, mine was just awful because I was in the middle, right in the beginning of the pandemic, so it was just absolutely terrifying. I didn't know if I was going to be able to have Eric in the freaking delivery room.
Yeah.
I was literally telling my paramedic friend to like be on standby because I was not going to do that alone. It was so scary. It was at Oviedo Medical Center, thank God, because it was really small and homey. They didn't have me wearing a mask or anything, but like we didn't know. I wanted my mom there, and I couldn't have her, so it was just me and Eric. We didn't know anything about anything, and oh God, I don't remember. Just the epidural, the shakes.
Yeah.
blood
Oh my
pressure.
God,
Yeah.
the shakes are
And I'm
nuts.
like, and then my blood
It's so
pressure
crazy that some
tanking.
people get that and some people
Yeah,
don't.
I think that scared Brian more because I knew because you did
Yeah.
it, and it scared Brian more than I'm like, this is normal.
I didn't think it was that like
Yeah,
much.
you're literally like my jaw could not
Convulsing,
stop. Like I'm
yeah.
like it was more annoying than
Yes.
anything.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
That
And
is
then
crazy.
it moved. They gave me too much. They're like, all right, if you can feel it in your chest, you just call us. And it was literally like going up to my throat, and I was numb. My whole body, I was just numb. And so then they had to take it down, and I don't know. I think I just pushed the my contractions were not bad at all. I got my epidural at a great time, and the pushing was really hard. I remember they gave me a snow cone that was red, and I threw up.
Oh.
And so I was like, it's not blood, it's not blood. Because I didn't want them to think something was wrong. But, no, yeah, the mirror was awesome. Then afterwards, I thought first when because I saw the mirror, they're like, oh, it's just a half tear. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to make it. And then at the end, it ended up being 3.5 degree tear. And I
Is
didn't
it
feel
inches?
it.
Or like, what is the
I don't know
degree?
what
It's like
Okay.
well, I just know 4th degree is like
To the butt.
To
to
the
the
butt,
booty
yeah.
hole.
I
So
think it
you're
just
like
means,
you're like
the
right there.
increments to there. So I think it
Yeah.
like touched my anus.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
might as well be 4th.
Because that's the only reason why I know is because I have
Three. They just didn't say 4. They're like 3.
You're
Yeah,
like,
well,
we'll
we'll
give you
tell
that.
So and she's talking to me. I swear it's like 40 minutes. Her stitching me up. Couldn't feel a thing. I'm glad because I was terrified I was gonna feel that, and I was all good. And then speaking of that though, it's embarrassing, but I have what do you call it? Fart incontinence.
Flatulence.
Flatulence. Oopsies.
Oopsies. Yeah.
Before I was a silent tutor. Eric probably never heard me fart, and then ever since, they will just fall out of my butt. And as a nurse, I would literally have panic attacks because the doctor would be talking to my face, and I'm like, it's gonna come out. And they're not silent; they are loud. And so I would have to go up against a wall and like move up so I can press my butt up against it because it's just so embarrassing. Which I'm like, I can't help it. I need to do pelvic floor therapy probably, but also can we just normalize it? Can we just like we all do it?
We can normalize it.
Because this is it's just awful.
Yeah.
Like now this is a new fear in my life. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's annoying. It's just stupid. But yeah, so that after having the babe, threw you on the chest, which I know you missed that, but like it's just the craziest terrifying feeling. It's like primal because they're like, here, and then they throw you on there, and then I'm like, what do I do? Like just straight from your vagina, and then I don't know. It was just really scary. They were just like running around, but they weren't like telling me what to do. Did they tell you? And then I was like, do I like feed you? Like I did. They didn't guide me there. They were my angels. I love them, but like I was just felt so.
Yeah. He was
Scared.
thrown on my chest though.
Yeah,
But for like a second.
Yeah.
But like one thing that I will say was the best part was I pulled him out.
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah.
Like she was like, put your arms down, and I was like this. And she's like, no, here. And then so I pulled him out, and then that was like they were rubbing
Okay,
him,
You got
and
your
then
little skin to skin.
for like 2
I
seconds.
know, but that's better than
Holding
nothing.
him out's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's primal.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
But and then breastfeeding, I was like, oh, you just like put them on, right? And then no, it couldn't.
Yeah, they're just like
Yeah. I'm
like
like,
a
is this
goldfish.
right?
Yeah.
Is this right? And then no.
It
Then
wasn't.
yeah, the pumping was awful. Then they're like trying to get me to pump, and I was doing the syringe thing. Like she was not eating. And then like we have no family, so I was just like FaceTiming people, and I was just terrified. I was in so much fear.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
It's still going.
Ugh, and God, I don't remember. I just remember the breastfeeding was awful. I cried every time. There's no sleeping. I just felt like a child taking care of a child, and there was just my mom. Like nobody was there to help me, and just the nurses, which were amazing. And when we went home, we didn't even know how to put her in the car seat. I remember I was like, "Is this right?" to the nurses because it's just terrifying. And
Yeah.
then we went home again, nobody there, and Eva was awful, and we did not sleep at all. We broke every rule. I think I fell asleep with her in my arms. We gave formula when we were like, oh, we're not going to do that, but like we just could not figure her out. We could not figure out.
But he did save it first.
Whoop Oopsies.
Lost you for a
Technical
second.
issues. I don't remember where we left off. Just that we just
Well,
felt
how did you feel after you had Eva?
awful. I just felt so alone, so scared, I just didn't know what we were doing. We were both like panicking, and we just had no help. And I definitely was depressed. I mean, like anxiety for sure, just extreme, just worry about everything. But like, just before feeding her, I would cry because it hurt so bad. And then I was just so scared that she wasn't gaining weight. So it was just the fear of like failure to thrive. And when we would go to the doctor, it was like, oh, she's not there yet. And then I don't know. So it was just that fear. And then I ended up like hating her. Like I didn't bond with her because I remember there was a picture of me on Mother's Day, and I just holding her, and I just it's not love. It's just like,
I'm supposed to do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember it's like I feel terrible, but I hate you. Like I don't feel that love. I just want to like just stop crying. Just let me sit. Like just do something. Eat. Like do anything that everyone told me that you were supposed to do. And it was scary. And then I think at 4 months when she started sleeping and I started to be a little more social with like the world, and it got better, but it was awful. And I don't know.
I definitely remember feeling like resentful to Phoebe, like
Yes.
that she like took something from me,
Yeah.
and it was like she was a baby, and it was like,
Yeah, then you feel terrible.
yeah, you
about
feel
yourself
terrible, but
over
I'm like
again.
literally instinctually, I'm like, I'm like telling myself that I love you, but like I
Yes.
don't even know if I love you right now. Like
Yes.
it's so sad.
I did
it's
not
the
feel
worst
that
feeling.
bond that
Yeah.
everyone said on Facebook, like love at first sight, and I'm
Yeah.
like, but you're just like a thing, and you already know you lived inside of me.
Yeah.
Like, why don't I feel this love?
But I feel like even like normal, like I mean, I feel like I had like more anxiety than anything, but like I feel like it's not. There's no like love at first sight. I feel like you're learning a relationship
Yeah.
at
Sure,
the
yeah.
same time.
And you are surviving. You're
Yeah.
not. It's not like they're doing all the cute things that you learn to love.
Yeah.
Like you're just keeping them alive,
Yeah.
and then you're just not. I don't know, barely doing it. Like. it was
When
bad.
you had Nora, did you feel more excited though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I did not. And then you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, winging it, but like,
Yeah.
way better, way better. And
Yeah.
that's when I had like I feel bad because it's always Eva. Then I felt that again about Eva. Like I was so annoyed with her. I was so mad at her. Like everything she did was wrong, and I hated that. Like you said, like I heard myself say it. I saw myself say it, but I like had to just say it. And I'm so glad she doesn't remember it because things she would say to Erica was just awful. But it's so hard. And when you're pregnant, when I was pregnant too, I was so mean to Eva. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to do anything. I just would say like, just leave me alone, or like just like I can't. I don't want to do it. But it's like you can't say that to a little kid. But erased. Memory erased.
Erase.
Oh, thank God.
I mean, our
1,000
kids see us as in the worst and the best versions of ourselves, and it's like, I mean,
But they only know like your love, so I feel like.
But then you have kids that go to therapy and they're like, well, when I was 4 years old, my mom did that. I mean, I don't think that young, but like there are things that your kids will keep with them and then tell their friends and tell their people that, oh, yeah, my mom did this. Like, I don't want that. I want to know what those things are.
Yeah.
a little bit of trauma would be funny.
I know. I mean, you got to give them a little bit, but like, I'm trying to find that line of
Yeah.
what is normal and what is like,
Yeah.
I need to
But
be
I feel
better
like
at.
if you care enough to do that, then
Yeah.
that means
Yeah.
like
I
you're
think you're
very-
trying, yes.
Yeah.
But
I
it is
mean,
a different kind of when you're pregnant when you have a kid. It's like it's like you're not in control. You're
Yeah.
just like you're miserable and you're hormonal and you're just
Especially
like,
because they don't care,
yeah,
right?
yes,
They
at
don't care
all.
that you feel bad. And so it's like, somebody has to care that I feel bad. Like, I mean, you don't care, and they're just like I told you guys, I'm throwing up in the toilet, and
Yeah.
Dawson's like, I need a snack.
Yeah,
And
and you
I'm
want to
like-
snap their necks when they say that. You're
Like,
like,
I'm dying.
yeah,
And then, but yeah, they don't care. And then it's like, I'm just like, I mean, and Elliot or your husband can only care so much.
And they can do
they're
so
like,
much.
they can only do so much,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a whole other thing with postpartum is like the husbands like they didn't actually experience anything.
yeah,
And then they are now thrusted into this, and it's like what Brian was dealing with. It's like I don't know. It's crazy because nobody cares about what they went through because we're all going through stuff, right? And I mean, obviously we are more important because we just did all this work.
Mhm.
But it is really crazy that like he didn't actually experience anything, and then it's like he just all of a sudden all of this stuff becomes like his responsibility. He's like rushing to the hospital. Like I'm sure he felt so scared. He's scared for
Oh,
you.
yeah.
He's scared for baby.
He
He's
didn't know
scared
what
for
to
like.
do, but he did such a good job.
It's like that's a
He
chaotic, crazy
he's like
thing
really
too.
he really clicked in. Like he's like he
Stepped
still
up.
to this day is like I have no idea what I was doing. I was freaking out. I was like, but he was so from my end like to me he seemed like he was so calm and collected, like. But then I know obviously he's like internally like what the fuck is happening? Like help me.
When it's like you're a
'Cause
kid,
I'm the nurse,
and then now,
he,
yeah,
but like
non-medical.
he wishes that I was there obviously, and like because I'm the nurse and I know terms and I know what
Yeah.
questions to ask and like with the anesthesiologist and the surgeon and so I was on FaceTime and I'm like asking all these questions and he's just like, but he was so like calm, like not like his normal like
Yeah.
stuff, like he was like so calm and just had
What
to
he
do it.
needed to be.
He had to do it. Yeah. It was just he was also just thrown into it,
Yeah.
So it definitely put a toll on him for sure.
Yeah, it's just crazy
But-
that you're like one day you're just a kid and then you're like thrust into
Yeah.
taking your new kid to surgery. Like
Yeah.
what?
Fresh
Yeah.
I
out.
don't even know how to be a parent. And you're gonna have to do this. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't trained for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trace with this.
This wasn't in the baby book.
Eric's like I trained.
I took the class.
Yeah, somehow he was trained. Yes.
I don't know. It's just crazy that there's all these statistics that like so many of us go through crazy experiences and crazy trauma, and then we're
Mhm.
supposed to continue
Mhm.
and do your thing and go to work
And be a mom.
And be a mom.
You
And
know what makes me
Mom.
more sad about the statistics? So that is from 2010. That it's basically gone up 60 to 70%. I
yeah.
mean, in 10 more years, is
Yeah.
that going to go up 140% since 2010?
Yeah.
Or is it going to change? Is it different?
Probably is getting worse though, and I feel like
Well, because it's harder to live. Now they
Yeah.
have to go back to work so much sooner.
Yeah.
They have to like
Yeah.
worry about so many other things.
So that makes
Yeah.
it like scarier.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
the financial like
Yeah.
dude, being a nurse in the hospital, I did not get paid maternity leave. How insane is that?
and you
not
had
paid.
to
Started early.
yeah.
Because I was put on light duty and then had to, and I couldn't last past 34 weeks, so I had to start maternity leave early. So I was like freaking out that like now I have to go back to work even sooner. It was absolutely terrible,
Yeah.
and I was relying on my PTO.
Yeah.
Who has to rely on
imagine
your
being
PTO?
a
Are you
postpartum nurse
kidding?
that like had to come back to work
Oh my
and
god.
you're like taking care of like a new
Fucking
baby.
trauma ICU
Yeah.
patients,
And they're
Yeah.
dude.
and then that
Yeah.
person it gets to be off for like months and
Yeah.
she's like, I
Yeah.
just had people.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Yeah.
But it makes it's like what you said about you want to hang out with moms because like you feel that bond of trauma and like you get it and you understand and
It's like the night bitch.
the night
Like
Yeah.
movie.
yes.
Yes. It was like
She had some
she was
great
like
monologues.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. It was so good. It's like I've told a bunch of people to watch that and I'm like, it's weird.
Ignore the dog part.
It's
Yeah, I
weird.
had to get past.
You have to
I
get
didn't watch
past
it really
it.
late. The very beginning of it, I forgot how much I watched into it. But when it started getting weird, then I started going on my phone.
I thought it was a metaphor, but she really did.
She really did try to, dog. I was
But
like,
I
okay,
think
this is
it
really
was
weird.
like that she had to feel free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she was like turning into an animal,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
we're all
A
animals,
primal
Right.
animal.
and then she had to feel free,
Mhm.
and then,
Right.
but yeah, it was like but that in the end, the very end scene where they're in the tent in the woods,
Yeah.
I was like, that is so cute. Like I just thought it was so cool because I'm in a tent in the
Yeah,
woods.
Yeah.
My tent is just fancier than like a Indian's tent
Yeah.
or Native American's tent, like whatever time ago.
Exactly.
But it's the same thing. I mean, it's
Same
like,
concept.
or it's no different than like a wolf's cave.
Mhm.
It's just I'm in a nicer decorated cave,
Yeah.
but I'm just an animal making animals.
Mhm.
I thought that movie was so fucking cool.
I love
gotta
I was
finish
like,
it.
Yeah.
I gotta finish it.
it was the very end
Just get
scene.
past the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, because
It's more-
you see her do like an art installation
Yeah.
and kind of come back to especially a creative person
Yeah.
that was like taken out of their creative world having those conversations with Elliot. Like, I should just give up my dreams. I should just give up that and then just focus on my kids, right? And it's like, a man's brain is like, well, I mean, if you want to, like, if that's going to make you feel better. But it's like, I wanted him to say, don't give up.
Yeah, exactly.
Do what you need
You
to have
can
a
do
separate
both,
thing.
yeah.
You should have both. Like, he has both.
Yeah.
Do that. But, like, in that movie, she's like, I think I should just give it up. And he's like, I mean, if you want to.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay. And then later she's like, why'd you tell me to give it up?
Because you
And
feel
it's
like you have to.
Sure. And you do feel like you're doing both things at 50%. And you're like, well, I could just do one thing at 100%, right? And I remember thinking about this multiple times. Like, I'm doing all of these things at like 10%. I should just do one thing at 100%, right? But I don't like doing that.
Yeah.
I like doing a bunch of different things.
Me
I
too.
also want my kids to see me being a multifaceted person. And
So that they can do it too.
yeah, and like, I mean, if somebody that wants to be just 100% a mom, if all in, sure, if that brings you happiness,
Right.
but it doesn't bring me happiness. I would feel resentment. And so, and that's what she felt. She just felt resentment. And she just wanted somebody to be like,
And appreciate. She needs
you
to be
are
appreciated.
good, you should do it. And then she does her little thing, and then
Yeah.
it's like just having some kind of outlet of a thing that you created is the.
What do you mean, like podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, like this? Like